Sources tell CBS News Hamas has released 2 more hostages. The Red Cross says it helped transport them out of the Middle East. Their release comes after 2 American hostages were released by Hamas last week. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cortez joins us now from the North Lawn. Nancy, the release of 2 more hostages has to be considered encouraging by the Biden administration tonight, no?
Sure, because there are still about 10 Americans who are unaccounted for after a couple of American hostages were freed at the end of last week. But the question is this the start of something more? Is Hamas planning to release more hostages? We know that there are still dozens in captivity. The president, it was interesting, was asked today at an unrelated event about Bidenomics. As he was leaving, he was asked whether he thinks that there should be some kind of ceasefire for hostages deal. This is something that has been floated, that perhaps Hamas would give back the hostages in exchange for a ceasefire by the Israelis. And what the president said was that that Hamas ought to give back those hostages first, and then they can talk.
In fact, I think we have that sound. We might as well hear the president himself explain this if we can.
Is the U.S. supporting the hostages for a ceasefire deal?
Why did you? We should have a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We should have those hostages released, and then we can talk.
Nancy, the other issue that has been the subject of, or the focus really of those of us tracking this here in Washington, is how the Biden administration, in essence, is trying to slow the inevitable Israeli ground offensive. There was clarification sought today by reporters. What exactly is the White House saying about that?
Well, this is a very delicate diplomatic dance right now, Ed. Publicly, what they are saying is that they're not going to dictate to the Israeli Defense Forces any kind of a timeline, that's up to the Israelis. But privately, we know, and you have reported, that the U.S. is very much urging Israeli officials to take it slow here for a number of reasons. First of all, out of concern for those hostages who are still being held in Gaza. Second, to give the Egyptians more time to bring humanitarian aid into Gaza. They worry that if the Israelis were to go in with ground forces, that the Egyptians would say, hey, we're not going to, under these conditions, try to bring water and food and medicine that's so badly needed by Palestinian civilians. And then beyond that, there are some concerns that the Israelis need to think this through a little more carefully. In fact, in the White House briefing, the U.S. National Security spokesman, John Kirby, sort of hinted at that, saying, we're asking the Israelis, what is the plan? What is your plan for the aftermath? Do you know what you would do afterwards? Essentially suggesting that the Israelis need to get a better handle on exactly how they think all of this will play out before they go in with ground forces, especially because just in the past few days, Ed, we have seen U.S. troops in the region come under attack. And this is something that the Pentagon is so concerned about that they've actually sent a few top military officials to Israel to begin advising them on ground invasion plans.
That's right. A few senior Marine generals, among others, a sign of just how directly involved the U.S. is, at least in helping them think through all this. Nancy Cortez at the White House, we thank you.
Thanks, Ed.